Hi Kurt, it's Mike here in Tunbridge Wells, about 40 miles south of London, here in England. I too am very interested in history and how it affects people. Now before I talk about the Cold War itself, you alluded to the Holocaust. Well, that in a way became very personal to me because my father was a tank commander for a British regiment called the Northamptonshire Yeomanry back in the 1939 to 45 war in Northern Europe, and basically they went all the way from the beaches, the invasion beaches in Normandy, all the way through to Berlin. He had many horrendous experiences, too many to go in just now, but one of the experiences he had was being involved in the armoured follow-up to the liberation of the Belsen concentration camp. He saw lorries full of skeletons and skulls. He smelt the stench. He saw the pathetic sight of the walking skeletons that remained. It made it real to me, and I've never forgotten the pain with which he expressed it. He had nightmares until the day he died about all sorts of things that happened in the war, but that was certainly very high among them. Moving to the Cold War, being a former soldier, my dad was, he wasn't a career soldier, he was he joined up to fight the Nazis. But he, having been in the forces, was very interested in world affairs, and he was very sceptical about the Russians. And he didn't think they were to be trusted. Whether he would think so now, I don't know. But we used to go, he took me to air shows where we used to see British Vulcan bombers who used to patrol the skies over the North Sea, and over the Arctic, and carrying a nuclear deterrent. And we saw British Electric Lightnings, very, very fast interceptor aircraft, which even back then were as fast as many of today's modern jets. But this was all things that brought the Cold War to life. I have friends in the Air Training Corps, and everything there was about aircraft recognition of Russian fighters and Russian bombers. It was very real. I think it was 89, wasn't it, when the Berlin Wall came down. Now that was I remember watching it on the television, and I was welling up. I had tears in my eyes because I knew German people. I'd been on a German exchange trip when I was 15. I went to a place called Muttlangen. My Catholic school in Tunbridge Wells had an exchange with a school in Muttlangen, near Schwäbisch Gmünd in Baden-Württemberg. One day I met a friend of mine, and we went for a walk around Muttlangen, and we saw this helicopter base. It was an American Army helicopter base, so we thought we'd have a wander onto it. So we had a stroll onto this base, and there was this, has to be said, not particularly smart American soldier with an M16 wandering around the place looking fairly aimless. And we said to him, I said to him, I suppose you're around to make sure people like us don't come and take photographs. So he said, you know my job better than I do. And I said, well, how do you find it here? And he said, forgive my American accent, he said, all we do around here is walk around stepping in sheep shit. And he complained about the rain. And so when he complained about the rain, I said to him, have you ever been to England? And he said, no, I haven't. I said, you don't know what rain is. But it brought the Cold War to life even more a couple of years later when I looked in my newspaper to find that there was a big demonstration at this former helicopter base, because the helicopters were moving out and they were installing Pershing missiles, which was a huge matter of debate at the time. To give you an idea, we're talking about 1979. It was great. It made it real. And you know, to be brutally honest, like or loathe nuclear weapons, the fact that we had them and they had them kept the status quo. It's difficult to see how, when there is one, if you like, world policeman in the United States, that there is an equilibrium. Because America wanders around doing pretty much what it likes, and everyone else can like it or lump it. That I don't think is healthy, because I think you need equilibrium in order for a stalemate to exist, and that stalemate is what makes peace. And we had it during the Cold War. I mean, an uneasy truce it may have been, but it was only after that particular USSR collapse that wars in the Balkans started up. Who knows what happens next? I think for the world it might even be healthier if China did become a little bit more military powerful than they are now, in order that no side gets one up. I could be wrong, of course, I'm just thinking out loud. But yeah, I remember the Cold War, and I remember going to air shows and seeing aircraft that patrolled the skies to protect us from the Russians, and bombers that flew 24 hours with a nuclear bomb on board, and interceptors that were very nearly as fast as as today's jets. And it was interesting. It was interesting. I remember speaking in a debate about whether or not Britain should boycott the Moscow Olympics in 1980. I felt that we should, because I felt at the time, not being quite as in possession of all the facts as maybe I am now, that it was better to boycott the games in order to stop people killing each other in Afghanistan. And everybody else was saying, well, sport should be out of politics.